things to do at camp over the years was to tell bedtime stories at night to 7 and 8-year-old boys. And every now and then I would read a book. And one of the favorite books is Walter the Farting Dog. It's a perfect book for 7 and 8-year-old boys. So I'm going to take this time now and just enjoy a little piece of camp and read this story to you. Betty and Billy brought Walter home from the dog pound. Nobody wanted him, said Billy. But we love him, said Betty. Well, he smells awful, said their mother. I think you'd better give him a bath. Mother walked in and said, he still smells awful. And that's when they got the first clue, the telltale bubbles in the water. He's probably just a little nervous, said Mother hopefully. His stomach must be upset. But Walter's stomach was not upset. Walter's stomach was fine. He felt perfectly normal. He just farted a lot. He did it when he bathed. He did it when he played with Betty and Billy. He did it when he walked around the house. He did it in the dining room, and he did it in the kitchen. And just like a lot of the little boys, he did it in his sleep. That dog farts morning, noon, and night, said Father. He can't help it, Daddy, said Betty and Billy. They didn't mind Walter's farts. So what if he farts, Betty said to Billy when they were alone in their room with Walter. Betty agreed. Walter agreed too. He sat there looking innocently around, farting. Take him to the vet, said Father. Farting, said the vet, or rectal flatulence, as we say in the medical field, and he prescribed a change in the diet. They gave Walter every kind of dog food. He farted. They tried him on cat food. They gave him hot dogs, hamburgers, and lettuce and tomato sandwiches. They gave him fried chicken. They gave him rabbit food. They even made him a vegetarian. No matter what that dog eats, he turns it into farts, cried Father. Walter even got the blame for everybody else's farts too. If Uncle Irving let one slip, he just went over and stood next to Walter. Then all he had to say was, Walter! And everybody would look at poor Walter. He has to go back to the pound, said Father. Oh no, Daddy, please, begged Betty and Billy. Don't send Walter away. He goes tomorrow, said Father. They pleaded, and Walter farted. It was all over. That night, Betty and Billy cried in their beds, and Walter looked at them very unhappily. Oh, Walter, said Betty, you've got to stop farting. Because Father's going to send you back to the pound tomorrow, said Billy. Walter knew how serious the situation was. He would never see Betty and Billy again. He promised to hold his farts forever, and when Betty and Billy fell asleep, he walked down to the kitchen to see if there was anything around to eat. He managed to open the cupboard door with his nose and found the 25-pound bag of low-fart dog biscuits the vet had prescribed, which actually made him fart even more. Even though he knew they made him fart, he couldn't resist it. He ate the entire bag. Very tasty, Walter said to himself. And then he went to lay down on the sofa. A gigantic gas bubble began to build inside of him. This is going to be trouble, he said to himself nervously. He was afraid of what might happen if he let it go. He thought maybe the house would explode. So he kept it in. It wasn't easy. In fact, it was torture. But he promised never to fart again. His future depended on it. As he lay there with his tail wrapped tightly between his legs, he heard a noise at the window. He watched it slowly open. A pair of burglars came through. They dropped silently into the kitchen. Watch out for the dog, said one of the burglars. He won't bite, said the other. He's a wimp. Walter might have bitten him, except he was so filled with gas he couldn't move. They tied a rag around his nose so he couldn't bark. Okay, whispered the first burglar. Let's clear the place out. They took everything they could get their hands on. Walter wanted to stop them, but he was having unbearable gas pains. He rolled on his back and he waved his paws in the air. He gnashed his teeth. We've got it all, said the second burglar. Let's go. That is when Walter let it fly. It was the worst fart of his life. It made a tremendous noise and it shot him all the way across the room. A hideous cloud filled the air. The burglars clutched their throats, unable to breathe. With tears in their eyes, they raced for the window. They tried to grab their bag with all the valuables in it, but their arms were just too weak. Let's get out of here. They jumped out the window and ran up the block, choking and gasping for air. Still blinded by Walter's attack, they stepped into the headlights of an approaching police car. "Hold it right there," said the policeman. When Mother and Father came down the next morning, they found the open window, and they saw the bag with all their valuables in it, and Walter was sitting beside it. He still had the rag tied around his nose. You'd have to say he looked heroic. "Oh, he saved the silverware," cried Mother. "Huh, he saved the VCR," cried Father. "Good dog, Walter. You're our dog, even if you do fart all the time." And so the family learned to live with Walter the hero dog. And that is the end of our tale.